Hello everyone and welcome along to the TurfCast podcast pre-game show, the show where we get the lowdown on the opposition from a fan of the opposition. And this week it is Leicester City up for us at the King Power Stadium. It's going to be a tough game, but is it going to be as tough as previous seasons? Because I don't think Leicester are as good this season as they have been for the last few seasons. If you look at their results so far, they've only beaten Norwich, they've only beaten Wolves. They're a very poor side in Norwich and a side in Wolves that have started slowly, and I think they're not going to be as good this season as they have done in previous seasons. I don't think Leicester are going to be in any trouble in any shape or form. I think maybe an 11th, 10th, 9th finish, but obviously that's poor for Leicester in recent seasons because they've been knocking on the door of the Champions League, qualifying for the Europa League. So we will see. I realise I'm leaving myself open to be mocked here. If anyone could easily just clip this up after they've beaten us 2-0 at the weekend, for example, or they might even trounce us, who knows? It can go either way with Burnley these days, to be fair. But I see this game as a very good opportunity to kickstart the season. Do I think we will? Well, you can find that out in the pre-game show when I give my prediction later on in the game. In the show, sorry. But it's a good opportunity for me, I think, to get a point. And a point at Leicester will be a very good point that will give the lads a lot of confidence, I think, going into a very big game on the 2nd of October against Norwich. And then after that, there's some big games after that as well, because after Norwich will play City, forget the City game, but then you've got Southampton away, winnable. Brentford at home, had a good start, but winnable. We need to bring them back down to our level. And I mean that in terms of points in the league. We can't let them get too far ahead of us. Chelsea after that, forget that. Then after that, it's Palace at home. We won that game last season. Obviously we beat them twice last season, but fingers crossed, we can get a point here at Leicester to really kickstart us going into this run of fixtures. Because I think if we come out of that run of fixtures that I've just mentioned on the 20th of November, and we still only have 3-4 points, then I think we're going to be in very, very big trouble. So we need to start putting some points on the table. On the board, and climbing up that table. But as I said, this is the pre-game show, and on the pre-game show, we get a fan of the opposition to give us all the lowdown on the opposition. Right, and just like that, we are joined by Jamie from the Fox's Arms, should I say, which is a bar in Alcudia. Am I right, Jamie? It's Alcudia, isn't it?
You definitely are, pal. Anybody wants to come on holiday, come and see us in the port of Alcudia, the north of Mallorca. Much appreciated. I know it's Leicester themed bar, but everyone's more than welcome, pal.
Yeah, definitely. I think if I ever get to Alcudia again, I've been before. I've been a couple of times, actually, obviously, but before I started doing this and before I was aware of the Fox's Arms, if I ever get down, I'll definitely bob in and say hello. And I encourage every Burnley fan to do so as well. Maybe not so much on Saturday, maybe after Saturday.
Maybe not.
I've
got the game on live. I've got the game on. So, yes. So if you want to come and watch it, fair enough. They're all appreciated. Whatever colour shirt you've got on, much appreciated for turning up.
Yeah, you might regret that at full time though, Clarets, but we'll get into that. And you also do some bits for Leicester Fan TV, is that right, Jamie?
Yes, I do. I've been doing that for 4 years now, covering Leicester from like the Spanish Fox side of it. So, yeah, I do some work for Leicester Fan TV with shows, watch-alongs, interviews, stuff like that. Just the normal kind of content that everyone likes to love and hear.
Yeah. Happy days. Well, let's get into it then. Let's have a chat about the season and the game coming up. Talk to me about your season so far then, Jamie, because I was thinking Leicester had a decent start, and I've just looked, and you're actually down in 12th. I mean, I know it's early on, so I'm going to sound hypocritical here because I've just said that you're down in 12th, but then I'm not looking at our league position too much because I'm thinking, oh, well, it's early. So it does sound hypocritical. But then at the same time, I don't know, I just expect Leicester to always be around knocking on the door of, 6th and 7th. Well, in 6th and 7th, knocking on the door of the top 4. And when I look at your results as well, the only teams you've beaten are Wolves and Norwich. Obviously, you had a man sent off in the defeat at West Ham. Unfortunate against City, unlucky against City. And then Brighton's the one at the weekend where I started checking out Leicester and thinking, oh, maybe it's a tough season for them. I say tough. Mid-table is tough for you, isn't it?
Let's not go there towards the Brighton. Let's get to the Brighton one a little bit later. But the pre-season, we signed decent players. We signed Patson Dakar, Bakararu, Sumer, Vestergaard. Who else did we sign? Lookman as well, Bertrand. We signed some decent players. And we came against Wolves, and you thought first game of the season, you thought, yeah, okay, then it was a bit ring rusty, stuff like that. We won 1-0, decent goal by Vardy, set up by Ricardo Pereira, back from his injury. And you thought, well, you can give or take the first game. as long as you get 3 points, no matter how you play, because you can build on it.
Yeah.
And it seemed to go a bit downhill from there, to be honest. Then we played West Ham on the Monday night and got trounced 4-1. And we weren't playing, even though we had a man sent off, we weren't playing very well anyway. And it was a bit downheartening, to be honest, disheartened about the performance. You start thinking, well, what's this season going to bring? Which way is it going to go? Are we going to be challenging for top 4? Are we challenging for mid-table and down the bottom of the table, which no Leicester fan wants at the minute for what we've had the last few years. Like you say, we're very unlucky against Man City. We had a very close call, disallowed, but Vardy offside goal, which if that had been allowed, I think the game would have been totally different. Man City would have been more open and would have been more spaces to attack, and we've probably gone on and won it. And then we played Brighton. Well, we played Napoli in the Europa League, and we played bloody well against them, considering they're normally Champions League qualifiers, quite regular, and we played really well, and they're favourites to win it. And to me, it was disappointing because we were 2-0 up with about 15 minutes to go, and then we conceded 2 goals. But I think we played really well and didn't let ourselves down. And then against Brighton, well, the standard of the refereeing, it was absolutely shocking. I'm not going to say too much more because you'll probably ban me off the channel if I carry on too much. But the referee was disgusting. He really was. VAR, I hate VAR at the best of times, but VAR ruined that game, and I think it's ruining football, to be honest. I really do. But as for where we're going to, I don't know. Mid-table, I think, pal. I really do think, Joe, that it'll be mid-table. We'll finish, hopefully, pushing for a trophy. Maybe a trophy. You never know. Another trophy. Who would have thought we'd have won the FA Cup after 134 years?
Another trophy. I think you've been greedy now, Jamie. Can you not let Burnley maybe have a cup run, for example? But what's the difference then between last season and this season then? Because just going off what you've said, then it sounds like you feel like you've regressed a little bit because you've brought a lot of signings in. Is it maybe taking them too long to gel, and then by the time that they've gelled, they'll be too far into the season? Why do you think you're not as good as last season?
Well, I think, like you say, we've bought players. The players we've bought don't seem to be going to the first team straight away. They seem to be squad players. They're not being 20, 30 million pound players. Not like West Fofana was last year. 30 million pound on a 19-year-old, and he went straight into the team and quality first team player. But the players we bought this year, I don't know. I don't think they're going this year. I don't think they're going to be like straight into the 1 to 11. I don't think they'll be in the first 11. Dakar will come good, but sometimes you find the foreign players, the international players, they have that first season syndrome, don't they, where they struggle to bed in, they don't settle in very well, and you normally see it best the second season when they're here, which hopefully it's only a couple of months before the bed in for us. But one of the main problems is our defence. We were playing 3 at the back last year, and we've lost West Fofana, Johnny Evans. West Fofana's out until February, so you can forget about him. He won't be playing Saturday. Johnny Evans, not sure until the press conference later this week. There's a 50-50 chance he might be playing. If he plays, we might play 3 at the back and play 2 up top. Last year, Nacho and Vardy were scoring goals for fun last year when they played up top. Yeah. This year, Nacho's had, I think, 30 minutes in the league so far. And he looks stronger. He looks fitter. He wants to fight for the balls. He's backtracking, and something's happened to his feet. He can control a ball now. Nacho couldn't trap a bag of sand last year, but this year he seems to be able to do it. He's improved. So hopefully he sees that, and we go back up top with Nacho and Vardy up top.
Is that something then that we feel like maybe we could exploit your defence? I mean, it's weird. Like you mentioned that you feel like your defence isn't as good. I never look at Leicester and my immediate thought is solid defence. But when I look back, obviously to win titles and to win FA Cups, you can't have some mugs at the back. You need to have decent defenders at the back. So you obviously do have decent defence. Evans is a good shout. I think he's a good player. Underrated as well. I remember when he left, was it West Brom? He was rumoured to be going to a few. Yeah. It was rumoured to be going to a few different clubs, and I think one of them was Burnley, and Burnley fans were like, I won't have him, he's useless. I'm like, come off it, he's going to be class. Just because he's been at West Brom and they've gone down don't mean he's rubbish. I think obviously he fell out of favour, was it at United? Was it United where he was at?
Alex Ferguson recently said he wishes he never lets him go now.
Yeah. Well, I think that
tells you something.
What gets into people's heads, doesn't it? Because it didn't quite work out for him at United. He's then gone to West Brom, I think. They've got relegated. Doesn't necessarily mean he's been bad, but then he's come to Leicester and done very, very well. So do you think it's something that Burnley can exploit? I mean, because Burnley don't really have sort of like attacking prowess. They're not really going to cut teams open. If we're going to score goals, chances are it's a set piece. So are you weaker from open play? Are you weaker from set pieces? How's this defence looking?
You've hit the nail on the head there, Joe. Last year, set pieces were our nemesis. We just couldn't do. I think we conceded 17 or 18, something like that. We were either the top worst team or worst team, however you want to put it. We were top of that pile of conceding goals from set plays, corners, free kicks. It was a nightmare. This year, we seem to have bolstered it a little bit until the Brighton game. When Welbeck scored, who seems to always score against us for some reason. I don't know why. They always get favourite teams that players like scoring against. Like Chris Wood, He loves scoring a goal against us, doesn't he, for some reason? But yeah, our set pieces, we've sort of shored up that a little bit this year, but we're always still a little bit worrying about set plays. Now we've got Vestergaard in there, which made a huge difference. I mean, Vestergaard must about 6'6", something like that, and can win a few headers. So hopefully we've shored that up. But if McNeil's playing and he starts swinging the ball over again like he can do, then you could cause us problems with the set plays again.
Yeah, Chris Wood does like a goal against you, doesn't he? But obviously he used to play for you boys, and every time I search Chris Wood, it winds me. Every time I search Chris Wood Burnley, one of the first images that comes up is him celebrating in a Leicester shirt, scoring at Turf Moor. I think in the Championship, or
when he stood on the back, when he stood on the advertising hoarding.
Yeah, it's as he's running towards it like that, and it's like, come on, he's been at Burnley 4 years now. Update that picture, please.
It was a stunning goal, though. It was a stunning goal. That was.
I remember it rightly. Was it in like a outside of the box effort? I can't remember exactly what it was. Yeah.
He gently knocked your defender out of the way.
The nice
and
way
then buried it from about 30 yards.
After watching Woody for the past 4 years, I think I know exactly what you mean. But hopefully you can do that at the weekend then. But yeah, he does like a goal. The games last season, let's get into the games last season. Obviously 1-1 at the Turf. Obviously at Leicester this weekend, so we'll focus more on that Leicester game. It was a weird game, that one, because it was our first game of the season. I think it was your second, because we were supposed to play Man United, but for whatever reason, I think it was European Super Cup or something, they couldn't play in it. Not the
something like
some
that.
European thing, yeah. And we had Ben Mee out, we had James Tarkowski out, but we still managed to. All right, we conceded 4, but we still played okay in patches. But I just think eventually we were quite poor at the back and got
you had a young centre half play that day, didn't you? On his debut, I think he was, and scored, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, Jimmy Dunn, who's now at QPR.
Oh, you've got rid of him, have you? What, on loan or sold him?
Yeah, no, we got rid of him, sold him completely. It was only there because, like I said, Tarky and Ben Mee were out. Kevin Long was also alongside him. Kevin Long's one of them players. I think every team's got one. He's been here for 11 years now, and he's never been in contention for a first team start. He's always been backup, and if that's what he wants to do, fair enough. Obviously, some players don't. Ben Gibson's a perfect example of that. But yeah, Jimmy Dunn was quite a young. It was his Premier League debut, if I remember rightly. Scored a goal. His defending was a little bit. I think all the defending, I'm not going to pick on Jimmy, all the defending that game from us was quite questionable. But I just that game wasn't Burnley so much, was it? But what are your memories from them games? Because obviously my memory is pretty much just you carving us open pretty much and getting 4 pretty simple goals.
Well, my memory starts before when I did the show with you on the Sunday morning before the game, and you said, "Oh, Burnley are going to lose." So that's my memory of that. That's the first thing I remember when you said, "Oh, can we do a preview?" And I thought, yeah, you said, and I was "Oh God, I'm quite shocked at that. I didn't expect that." But yeah, a bit like yourself. We were still working out the first couple of games of the season. You're still working out how you're trying to play and stuff like that, and we weren't quite sorted with the team selection, because you never know you pop a first 11, do you? You still got a few injuries, and that COVID was in the height. The season started late, didn't it, last year? It started September time because they were still in the height of COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, I remember the score being 4-2. I remember the young lad scoring the goal. But it's one of them games that doesn't really stick in my mind. I remember this, like I say, I remember the score 4-2. But I remember the game the season before when you had that goal disallowed, when Johnny Evans got tripped over, when he tripped over his own big toe.
Over himself, yeah.
I remember,
and VAR was in at that point, I think, and they looked at it. Or VAR wasn't in. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, VAR was, and said Chris Wood had blew on him, or gently pushed him again.
Joe, I was fuming as a Leicester fan at work, and obviously I don't see him anymore because we all work from home. And I remember I went in the day after, and I just thought, I'm not going to talk about it. I can't be arsed. I'm one of them that's like, I can't be arsed with banter. So I just left it, and he went, I tell you what, you boys were robbed yesterday. And I thought, okay, hell, if he's saying that, then we were robbed. But yeah, I felt we were robbed that day. Should have been 2-2.
That day you were, yes.
I think. Yeah. But the year after, obviously, I think you beat us comfortably. What sort of game are you expecting this sort of time round then? What sort of game are we expecting from Leicester? Are we expecting 4 at the back, 3 at the back? How do you think you're going to play?
Well, to be honest, with Brendan Rodgers, I think it's more he puts his hand in the box, the lucky dip box, and picks out his team that way sometimes because we're never 100% sure exactly what team he's going to play. He seems to swap and change it. When we won the league, we had Claudio Ranieri, the Tinkerman. We thought, oh, he's going to swap and change it all the time. He didn't. He kept it the same as much as he possibly could. We don't have a settled team now. We keep changing it, whether it's because of injuries or whether he's trying to chase his tail and try and find that winning formation. I don't know. I would love to have a 4-4-2, the old-fashioned 4-4-2, with 2 up top, with Vardy and Nacho up top, your 2 midfielders, your 2 wingers, and your 4 at the back. But he doesn't. He seems to play these different systems, these 4-3-3s, or he plays a 4-1-4-3-2, or whatever it is. He keeps changing it all the time. We don't have a settled system. So, Joe, you've probably got more chance of naming the team than I actually have because he changes it that much. And with the injuries at the back, we're a bit stuck with what we've got. Soyuncu's not going through the best of times, but he's got to play because there's no Johnny Evans, there's no Fofana. He doesn't trust Filip Benkovic that he had that had on loan at Celtic with him. He hasn't played a game. James Justin is still injured, so we're a bit limited with what we've got. So I reckon he'll go with a 4 at the back, 4 in midfield. He'll play Maddison as the number 10. That every Leicester player doesn't want Maddison in that team. Sorry, every Leicester player, not players. I don't know about the players. Every Leicester fan is saying we've got to drop Maddison. His confidence is gone. He hasn't contributed a goal or assist. I think 17 games now, which is a lot for Maddison.
Yeah.
I think he scored. No, that was against Huddersfield when he scored a free kick. No, he didn't score that against you. He scored that someone else. But he hasn't contributed even free kick. He hasn't scored direct from a free kick for God knows how long, and that's been meant to be one of his main games. But I'd love to see Vardy and Nacho somehow in the same side. Scored 25 goals, 26 goals last year between them after Christmas.
Yeah.
And now we're not playing them together. So I don't understand that one.
Few interesting points from that answer I want to pick up on. Burnley get a lot of stick because of the way that we play, because we play 2 banks of 4, 2 up top, and it's interesting to hear you say the opposite. You want to see Leicester play 4-4-2. So I kind of like that. We get a lot of stick for it, but other fans are kind of saying, well, we wouldn't mind actually doing that ourselves. I want to pick up on the Maddison thing. What's happening then with Maddison? Like, why do you think he's so? Because I look at Maddison and think class player. I remember him winning man of the matches left, right, and centre last season and playing very, very well. Chelsea were interested in him. There was a debate about who's better, Maddison or Grealish, and things like that.
Well,
so
it was Arsenal. Happened? I think it was Arsenal that were interested in
Arsenal?
Him. That more than Chelsea. It looked like it was going to go to Arsenal, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we'll pay the taxi fare." A lot of people said, "We'll drive him down there." It's just. Ever since we had a problem before the West Ham game last year, 5 of them had a party when they shouldn't have had a party, and they called the COVID-5. It made the national news. Yeah, and he hasn't been playing well since then. He really hasn't. And that seems to be, it's a bit of his, and he's gone downhill. He's just, him and his girlfriend have just had a little baby. And I don't know, it's just not worked for him. Since that COVID-5 thing, it hasn't, there was rumours that him and Rodgers had a bust up. The rumours of the Arsenal transfer, and he's just not playing his normal self, and he seems to slow the game down when he plays.
Yeah.
On Sunday when we played Brighton, we took him off. Lookman came on. Oh boy, we were so more exciting, so much energy. The whole team just sort of picked themselves up as soon as Maddison went off. Surely Rodgers can see that, and I think we've got to make changes. If it means dropping Maddison, it might be the kick up the backside he needs.
Yeah, interesting. Well, there was a lot of debate about whether Odegaard were fitting into the Arsenal system until he played Burnley and scored that free kick. So you never know. Maddison could end up getting a nice free. I'll be fuming if we concede 2 free kicks in 2 weeks. If it weren't for that goal last week, the game finishes 0-0 and we take a point, and everyone's a little bit more positive about that game and the season so far. But that leads us on nicely to Burnley. What are sort of like your expectations from the Clarets end this weekend?
Well, they're going to give us a Sean Dyche kind of game, isn't they? They're like not fighting, but they've got the fighting spirit. They hustle everyone, they press everyone. It's just the Sean Dyche way, isn't it? It's just that. I mean, he's now just signed a new contract, hasn't he, for another 3 years? Is it something like that? So he's going to be the longest-serving Premiership manager. And it's the only way Sean Dyche, the old-school defender. We all know what old-school defenders do, and I think that rubs off on his team selections and the way the team plays. And I wouldn't mind him at Leicester. I don't think he's the kind of manager at Leicester at this moment in time for the way we're going. But a few years ago, I'd have loved Sean Dyche at Leicester. The way he gets his players going and he motivates them, and the way they play. I know it's not the best sometimes, the way they play, but at least they give it 100% all the time. That's what I see from a Burnley point, from a neutral point of view watching Burnley.
Yeah, definitely. I'm expecting something similar. I think we're kind of slowly trying to evolve that. If you look at the signings that we made, Maxwell Cornet being the marquee signing, I think he's more of a Dwight McNeil type player. And now, fingers crossed. I think this weekend might be too soon for him, but fingers crossed we can have Dwight on one wing, Cornet on another at some point in the season. Attacking Woody in the middle, bombing balls into his head. That sounds like it'd work very, very well. We played Rochdale, and at the time of recording this, it was last night on Tuesday. Have you got a midweek game?
Yeah, we've got to go to the Den, Millwall.
Are you playing that tonight? Yeah, so obviously the time of recording is Wednesday. Do you think that's going to work in Burnley's favour, or do you think you've got a deep enough squad to cope with things like that?
I think he'll make a few changes tonight. You'll see Dewsbury Hall play. There's a name I haven't mentioned, Kieran Dewsbury Hall. I think he will be playing instead of. I don't think Mallers will play tonight, so Dewsbury Hall will play. I think Mark Kevin Albrighton, who you tried to sign in the summer, didn't you? There was inklings that he might go to you. He'll get a game tonight. It will be a bit of a squad game tonight. I think Danny Ward will play instead of Schmeichel. But as for the defence, I'm not sure because we're struggling with numbers. Whether we play Pereira and Castagna and drop Bertrand, but the defence is going to be the problem tonight because we are limited with numbers. But hopefully we can do the job.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously at the time when everyone's listening to this, the game will definitely already been played unless you're a Patreon subscriber. So it'd be interesting for Burnley fans. I'll be looking out for the squad tonight anyway, and I'll be looking out for the result and thinking, if they can get a result against them, even if you've made changes. We played quite a strong side against Rochdale. There were changes made to a certain extent, but obviously Vidra was up top with Jay, who obviously scored 4 goals. Cornet started, but that seems to be the debate amongst Burnley fans at the minute because it's always Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes. I've always been a defender of Chris Wood, and I still am. I think he's the best striker we have at the club. He's easily the best finisher we have at the club. But Ashley Barnes, for me, love him. He's been a great servant to the football club, but he shouldn't be starting Premier League games anymore. He's at a stage now where it's time to maybe have him coming off the bench or just letting his contract run out and say, thank you very much. You've been a great servant. Even maybe give him a cheeky testimonial and things like that for what he's done for us. But I don't think he should be starting anymore. But hopefully Jay's sort of like battled his way into contention to starting against you boys this weekend. But let's get into the game itself then and some predictions. Obviously, I know you said you don't think you can predict the Leicester lineup. You want to give it a go? What sort of things do you think Brendan's going to do rather than what you want him to do?
I think it'd be pretty similar to the lineup against Brighton. So you'll probably see Schmeichel in goal, of course. He hasn't missed a Premier League game since 2018. So Danny Ward sitting on the bench, twiddling his thumbs, earning his money quite easily. It'll probably be Pereira and then Bertrand. And then you've got Soyuncu and Vestergaard, unless Evans miraculously gets fit. So I think it'd be them two, Soyuncu and Vestergaard. You'll have Wilf and Tillemans in the middle as normal. Barnes on the right. And then I'm hopefully seeing Lookman on the left. I think he might play Lookman on the left-hand side because he's brought as a winger, and we need a winger. And after Sunday's performance, he should bring Lookman in. And then I think he will play Madders just behind Vardy. I don't think he'll drop Madders for Nacho, unfortunately. So I think there'll just be the one change of Lookman in for. I can't remember who played on the left hand side the other day. I honestly can't remember who it was now. It'd be Lookman in. That'll be the only change. Lookman in for the left hand side. on the left-hand side.
Fair enough. You still sound quite good going forward, though. Vardy likes a goal against us. Vardy likes a goal against everybody. So I'll probably expect him to score. I love Harvey Barnes. And it's not just the Burnley connection. And obviously, it's a very slight Burnley connection. The fact that his dad played for us and then Harvey was subsequently born in Burnley. It's slight, but I'm having it.
You're taking it.
I'm taking it. Yeah, I remember when he was a bit younger and there was a few rumours about us being interested in him. And we're thinking, oh, well, he's got his dad. Maybe his dad's going to say to him. His dad probably just said, listen, Leicester, stay at Leicester. So that's interesting. But yeah, you do. And Lookman on the left as well, as another player that we were, whether it's just paper talk or Twitter talk, I'm not sure, but we were rumoured to be interested in. Again, another one disappointed. We missed out on quite a few decent signings this summer. There were Lookman, Albrighton, as you mentioned, Ashley Young at Villa, and a few more. Young was ready to come. He was on his way to Burnley, apparently, and then he got a phone call off Villa and said, I'd rather go Villa. But for Burnley, I think I'm hoping Dyche changed it up. There's a few sort of like running jokes, sort of like on the hashtags and stuff of how he's still going to play Barnes despite Jay scoring 4 against Rochdale. All right, it's Rochdale, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but they're a League Two side. He's not going to be coming up against defenders like Vestergaard and Sionku against Rochdale. So, but he can only play what's put in front of him. Ashley Barnes has done nothing in a Burnley shirt so far in the Premier League this season. I've just said all that, but I still would rather play Vidra and Wood. But I would like it if he brought Jay in now because Jay's earned the right to be in there. And I think it's time to stop Cornet. He played very well against Arsenal when he came on. He played very well last night against Rochdale. Again, I know it's only Rochdale, but he can only play what's put in front of him. But he got an assist, did very well for the second goal. His finishing needs to improve, but he's a wide player and stuff. Honestly, if he could finish his tee, he'd have scored 2 goals last night, maybe even 3. But he was getting in them positions, and that's not something you see Burnley players do. So I'd have Poppy in the goal, obviously. Charlie Taylor at left back, who needs to improve. He's been poor this season. Ben Mee and Tarky in the middle, Lawton at right back. Dwight on the left, Corney on the right, and have them swapping around. And in the middle, I'm going to drop. I think I'm going to drop Westy for this one. I think I'm going to try Brownhill and Cork. I love Westy, and I think he's probably the best midfielder we have on the ball at the football club. But he's been a little bit out of form this season. And then up top, I'm going Vidra and Chris Wood. I think that's what I would do. What do I think Dyche will do? Barnes and Chris Wood up top, and then no real other changes. But let's get into some predictions then. Obviously, I said earlier on the show that you've only beat Wolves, who look poor this season or not as good as they normally are, and Norwich, who have lost every single game and will go down again, just like they do every time they come up. They don't even give it a go, Norwich. Honestly, they don't even try. They come up and just get relegated. It winds me up. But then do Burnley fall into that category of them sides? So then people can say, oh, we've only beaten Norwich, Burnley and Wolves. Probably in some people's mind, I think we probably deserve a little bit more respect than Norwich especially. But it is, let's be fair, a winnable game for you boys. You said earlier in the show that I came on and said, oh, Burnley will lose. It's because I'm quite real. I don't like to just say, oh, we're going to win every week, because it's pointless. I try to be realistic, and I think let's be realistic for this one. I think it's going to be a Leicester win. I'm thinking 2-0, maybe 2-1 at best for Burnley. What are you thinking?
Well, I want to be confident. I really want to be confident. And normally I'd go for a 1-0 dodgy win. But I'm going to put it on the line, and I'm going to go for a 3-0 win. I think I'm going for a 3-0 win. If we get that early goal, the fans are back in the stadiums, properly back in the stadiums. The home form was a bit dodgy last year, because I think everyone's home form was dodgy last year when there was no crowds.
Ours still is, annoyingly.
Yeah. So hopefully, with the crowds there, it's like an extra 12th man. As long as the referee and VAR is not on Burnley's side, I think we'll get, hopefully, touch wood. Yeah, I'm going for 3-0, and I very rarely go for 3-0s. Very rarely. I just like winning the home games and drawing the away games. 4 points from 2 games. But yeah, I think it's going to be 3-0 this week. I mean, I'll have to come on your show next week if it's not. That's for certain.
Well, we never know. We might get you back on for a review show. I've been planning on doing some things like that, so we'll see. It just keeps just not falling into place for us at the minute. But fingers crossed, we are both wrong on the prediction because I can't really give you stick for saying you predicted a Leicester win when I've predicted it as well. I kind of understand where you're coming from on that one, but fingers crossed. Obviously, we can turn it around. Fingers crossed, we can start picking up some form. Starting at Leicester, I would literally, I wouldn't even bite your hand off for a draw. I'd rip your entire arm off for a draw. Just get a good result for the season and get going.
See, everyone says to me, when we play away from home, I always go for a 2-2 draw. Because I say, if you can't win, do not lose. And a point away from home in the Premiership is a good result, no matter where it is. If you win your home games and draw your away games, a point away from home, like I keep saying, I said, why do you keep saying that for? Because it's true. If you can't win, don't lose. That's my saying at the minute.
Definitely. Well, fingers crossed Burnley don't lose. We'll start wrapping up then, Jamie. Just want to give everyone another shout out as to where they can find the Fox's Arms and Leicester Fan TV.
Fox's Arms, you can find us everywhere on social media. If you want to come and see us, we're actually live in Alcudia, the north end of Mallorca. And if you want to see any of our content, then go to Leicester Fan TV on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on the show, mate, again.
You're welcome, Joe.
And we'll probably see you for the game ahead of Turf Moor. Maybe a review show. We'll see if I can get one going. I'll need to chat to people. We'll see. Probably not if you've trounced us 3-0. I'll leave that one out. But thanks for coming on the show. Thanks, everybody, for listening or watching. And we will see you at some point next week. I'll definitely do the 60-second review, which is always on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Fingers crossed we can get enough people together for our review show not long after the game. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.